Cong Marcoleta, tinuldukan na ang ABS-CBN at TV5. Naniniwala si Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta na nilabag ng TV5 ang broadcasting franchise nito nang pumasok ito sa partnership agreement sa ABS-CBN. Sa isang privilege speech, binanggit ng mambabatas ang Section 10 ng Prangkisa ng TV5 na nagbabawas sa pagsasanib nito sa ibang kumpanya nang walang paunang pag-apruba ng Kongreso. Kinumpirma noong Biyernes na nagbenta ang TV5 ng 35% stake sa network sa ABS-CBN sa halagang 2.6 billion pesos. Sinabi ni Marcoleta na ang pagbebenta ng mga stock ng TV5 ay parang paglilipat sa ABS-CBN ng mga karapatan at obligasyon nito sa ilalim ng prangkisa nito. Tinanong niya kung maaaring gawin ito ng isang kumpanya kahit na hindi ito binigyan ng prangkisa ng Kongreso dahil sa mga paglabag at hindi pagbabayad ng mga obligasyon nito. Ang mga administratibong parusa na natamo ng network kailangan nitong bayaran sa gobyerno ay umabot sa humigit kumulang 1.6 trillion pesos. Ani Marcoleta. Nauna nang itinanggi ng ABS-CBN network na mayroon itong mga paglabag sa prangkisa.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I move that to recognize the Honorable Marcoleta, Dante Marcoleta of Sagip Party List.
What is the nature of the matter in which the gentleman from party list Sagip is rising?
I will speak, Mr. Speaker, on the recently concluded deal between TV5 and ABS-CBN.
The gentleman has 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a question of privilege. Last week, the merger between ABS-CBN and TV5 was announced. I think it was met by public skepticism based on the initial requests of TV stations and radio stations requiring comment from this representation. Mr. Speaker, to be honest, I think the merger left a bad taste in the mouth. It leaves much to be desired. It is public knowledge, Mr. Speaker, that 2 years ago, on the application for renewal of ABS-CBN's franchise, this Congress, or the 17th Congress to be more particular, denied the application for renewal because the 17th Congress was able to establish several violations that justified the denial of that franchise. What are these, Mr. Speaker? I can recall a long list of violations. ABS-CBN did not have a permit on the digital broadcast for all their channels. It has no permit for the encryption of its signal and its contents. ABS-CBN violated the cease and desist order issued by the National Telecommunications Commission. ABS-CBN also operated and sold illegally millions of TV Plus black boxes without the approval of the National Telecommunications Commission. ABS-CBN also made telecast on pay-per-view, even without the authority of the conditional access system by the NTC. Mr. Speaker, there were flagrant violations, not only the rules and laws, but also the Constitution. I think even the Constitution was desecrated by ABS-CBN by violating the exclusive Filipino ownership and management of mass media by the issuance of what we call the Philippine Depositary Receipts. And as I speak today, Mr. Speaker, several employees of ABS-CBN who were terminated illegally by that network won their cases in the Supreme Court, 2 cases of regularization and 6 cases of illegal dismissal. These cases were won in the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker. And 2 of these already had entry of judgment issued by the Supreme Court. But the NLRC, Mr. Speaker, for unknown reasons, did not even lift a finger to help the workers. Some of them are older already, and some are dying already, Mr. Speaker. I can probably blame the concerned agencies of government who did not act on these violations. For example, the BIR promised at that time that they will look into those allegations of non-payment of taxes, of correct taxes, by employing a dubious subsidiary called Big Dipper to operate like a tax shield in order to evade the payment of rightful taxes, billions of taxes due to the government, Mr. Speaker. There is a subsisting memorandum order of NTC, Mr. Speaker, that a franchise grantee should not enter into commercial agreements in which the NTC has jurisdiction with those companies or parties that have obligations to the national government or the national government. It is my humble submission, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, that these violations, oh, by the way, Mr. Speaker, this representation calculated the administrative penalties that should be paid by ABS-CBN to the government. And my calculations totaled 1.6 trillion pesos. If this can be considered as obligations to the national government, then the NTC order, again, should be applied. Ang problema kasi, Mr. Speaker, this concerns agencies, NTC, the BIR, although it promised to look into the allegations of these tax evasion schemes, did not bother. They lacked the vigilance. They did not summon the agency or even the sense of duty required by the respective offices. And by every measure, Mr. Speaker, I think even TV5 has some obligations in this deal. With the substantial purchase, Mr. Speaker, of the outstanding stocks of ABS-CBN, I believe Section 10 of the franchise of TV5 was violated because the rights and obligations have virtually been transferred to ABS-CBN. Kung pwede ba, Mr. Speaker, na ang isang network na hindi na natin binigyan ng lisensya because of these established violations, wala na siyang prangkisa. Pwede ba siyang sumakay ng ganun-ganun lang without settling the obligations to the country, to the government? Is it possible that something that cannot be achieved or obtained directly can be obtained indirectly? I think this is a basic dictum in law, Mr. Speaker. We cannot do that. Section 10 of the franchise of TV5 also prohibits merger with other entities without prior approval of Congress. Wala pa po tayong approval. So I said, this particular deal must be looked into, Mr. Speaker. And I think, because of this deal, we have yet to have let the proverbial cat out of the bag, Mr. Speaker. Why? MediaQuest, the parent company of TV5, is owned by PLDT Beneficial Trust Fund. And the grapevine, Mr. Speaker, is so loud that PLDT Beneficial Trust Fund is owned by an Indonesian national. So if we will reminisce, Mr. Speaker, that the PDRs were utilized indirectly as conduits for foreigners to own mass media in this country by desecrating and circumventing the very constitution that we have, baka naman ang mangyari, ganito rin, Mr. Speaker. Magigising na lang tayo and we will have to see deja vu once again. Mr. Speaker, somebody said that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. I humbly seek the good men of this chamber, Mr. Speaker, to unite and rally behind a good cause and do something. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Para naman sa inyo, ano naman ang masasabi nyo tungkol dito? Magkomento lamang sa baba at huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe para updated ka sa mga maiinit na balita sa Pilipinas. Maraming salamat sa panonood.